Guys, welcome back to a new episode of the Boundary Riders podcast. Wherever you're listening around the planet, bit of the Dwayne Russell reference there. We've got a lot to talk about today. Have the carnage of the Q clash with the Brisbane Lions injury toll. We take a look at the Gold Coast Suns and their season so far. Carlton and if they're pretenders. And we'll be looking at the Flog of the Week. And my brother is ready to rock it off at his team in Port Adelaide. So let's roll the intro and get straight into it. And then Rankin from the pocket, don't tell me, Isaac Rankin!
Yeah.
He's just got the license for a brothel.
Well, I think Gather Round's going to be AFL this next season.
It's at the handle at the back, Nick Dacos to get the pies home! He's done it! But as always, guys, joined by my brother. We'll get into the Port stuff later, but it was a pretty big round. It was the pseudo rivalry round this weekend, and we saw some teams really jump forward. Saw some teams really pretty badly falter. The likes of Port Adelaide, of course. The Western Bulldogs were very poor. Even the Gold Coast Suns to an extent as well.
Yeah.
But we kind of saw the teams who are going to contend this year and the teams that may be off the pace just a little bit.
Yeah, I think some people got brought back to earth in the Giants and Carlton. They were just riding it. And the Cats as well got their first loss. Yeah. And I think injuries took their toll for a lot of teams for this week. Yeah,
that's very true. Now, I think the biggest one was obviously the Brisbane Lions. We'll talk about them first because absolute carnage last night in the Q Clash. We're recording this on a Monday, so Sunday night that game was terrible time slot, by the way. Who the hell is watching it?
It's because it's the public holiday today in Queensland, so that's why they want it. I think it's Labor Day in Queensland for Monday, so they're going to try. It was the highest attended Q Clash ever, so it did get the rate. It did get the ratings. It did get the attendance in Queensland.
Shut up.
It will.
Sorry, shut me up.
And now the Brisbane and Gold Coast want to try and make that at times that slot for the Q Clash.
Shut me up. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Good point. Good point. Thank you.
This is what happens when you know what's happening in the AFL.
Oh. I live the AFL since I've started this fucking channel. I have to fucking live it through my fucking veins. The amount of times that my partner tells me to shut up because I'm ready to just talk about it all the time. All this stuff.
Yeah, well, me too. But see, I've got.
We've got an actual reason to do it.
Yeah.
I've got some perspective. Like an idiot. Anyway, let's talk about the Lions. So, they had an absolutely massive injury toll in this game. It started off with Brendan Starskovic before the game. It's like half an hour. They were on the warm-up. He pulled up sore. He was taken out. And then Morris, who was playing in the VFL earlier in the day, had a 13 disposal, 1-goal game, had a Macca's feed in between games, and came out and performed pretty well. I mean, you can't really expect much more from him in his first game in the Q Clash, and to have played essentially nearly eight quarters of footy. Yeah. He was the sub, but obviously with Lincoln McCarthy, who was the next injury, he had to come on very early. It is suspected that Lincoln McCarthy, at this stage on a Monday, that he has done his ACL, which is really disappointing. Obviously had a lot of injuries, a huge amount when he was at Geelong. Trying to get a second start at the Lions. It has actually been very lucky, well not lucky, but he's been very consistent being on the pitch for Brisbane. So unfortunately it does look like it is an ACL for him. Noah Answorth did get a knee to the head and was concussed, so that was another injury. So 3 players basically in the first quarter were injured. I mean, obviously Starskovic was laid out, so they got a little bit lucky there. Luckily they did take him out, didn't take the risk.
Yeah.
And then Darcy Gardner, such an innocuous incident. It didn't look like anything happened, but as soon as he clutched his knee, you knew there was something wrong. And that is also suspected to be an ACL.
Yeah, I think it was Dan Zorko came out and said that they're not 100%, but they're pretty confident that it's both of them are ACLs, which is devastating for them, which they've already had to deal with Kitty Coleman getting one early at the start of the year. So
yeah, it's very interesting for Brisbane because over the last 4 or 5 years, when they've been on this high with Chris Fagan as well, they haven't had a lot of injuries, so they haven't had to really look into their depth.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, if you think about it, there hasn't been a lot. Maybe Wilmot, Ashcroft,
and Fletcher.
And Fletcher, Lohman as well. But those are probably, there's not many others.
No.
A lot of them have been brought in from other clubs or have been just
or got 1 or 2 games and then they're out for a long. Yeah, they haven't been able to get the consistency of the youth going through their team.
But now they're going to have to.
Yeah,
they're going to have to go to this youth. And the thing is, they have performed very well in the VFL in the past few years. The Lions, haven't been able to win it, but they have been like very good. I think that's a good indicator of how your depth is if your reserves team is performing well.
Yeah,
I think we saw that with the West Coast Eagles getting smashed 150 points in the waffle last year with their depth. But that is something they can look at. They had a couple of debutantes, obviously Morris, which we talked about, the Breville.
Yeah, Breville.
The Breville cooker. Breville, you watched this game. You said he has a very good kick. He looks like he's going to be a player.
Yeah, well, in especially the first half, he found a good pinpoint passes that not a lot of people could probably make. So to do that in his first game was good to see. He did peter out like most debutants do.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they obviously have needed a replacement for a Coleman.
Yeah.
So maybe that is a guy that they could use. And obviously next year, if let's say he keeps on his form, I think he had 15 touches in his first game. So that's pretty good for a guy in his debut game. So I think that they can use that, and maybe if they got us some, I think this is similar to like maybe Geelong. I'm not writing off Brisbane just yet, but what Geelong did last year, they had to blood some youth, which worked, and now this year they are performing quite well. By the way, anyone who saw that TikTok or short, I am sorry to the Geelong fans out there. I put that out talking about how good Geelong have been this season and they lost, and I've seen a few Geelong supporters going, "Fuck you, bro, you jinxers." I'm sorry.
It was good timing though.
I thought it was pretty good timing. Well, now they got Port Adelaide this week. You're going to have to make another one. Jinx them out of it. Anyway, but I do think the Lions, they somewhat got their season back on track.
I thought it was good to see that Hipwood got back into it. He got a bit more up the ground. Danaher was playing okay, I guess. The better side of Danaher.
Yeah. They just need to... they got the Crows now at Adelaide. Well, that is a massive game this week. We'll obviously get into the tips later, but that is a massive game for the Lions. I did want to talk about the Gold Coast, because this was a game that I think they needed to win. I did pick the Lions, you did pick the Suns, but the Gold Coast had to win this game from the outset, and the fact that the Lions had 3 players down on the bench and a guy who played a full game of VFL football, basically 3.5 players down in this game, and the Gold Coast just didn't bring anything.
Yeah, no.
There was no... I think the best way to do it would have been to play a kick mark game, because that would make the Brisbane Lions players have to defend, and make them, have to run up, have to defend, have to cover the mark. And they just were pretty poor.
I thought what they should have done is move the ball from side to side, get a few marks, get a few handball receives, and keep the ball moving. Yeah. And just keep moving them side to side and...
make them tire them.
Yeah, tire
because they only had 2 rotations on the bench.
Yeah.
And, Morris had to come off quite a lot because he played a VFL game. And he's a first gamer as well.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that. And they let Dane Zorko just run around the ground all day. He had 35 kicks in the game.
Yeah.
That's, you said before we went on air. We are so professional. Before we went on air, that was nearly the record.
Yeah, it was definitely a club record.
Yeah,
because
I can't remember a time when a guy's had probably... I can't even remember a guy who's had over 20 kicks in a game, or 25 kicks in a game. Let alone 35 kicks. That is outstanding. That's like showing presence with the football.
Yeah,
because players can have fucking 40 touches and have 35 handballs.
Like we see with Tom Mitchell.
Yeah, Tom Mitchell back in the day, Nick Dacos at times. But, having 35 kicks to the footy, that is showing impact. And Dane Zorko's had I wouldn't say it's a career best year, but he's been definitely one of the few shining lights for Brisbane so far this year. He's led from the front, which is good to see. But the Gold Coast, it's hard now. They're out of the 8 again. They're still out of the 8. And there's been... I think you give Damien Hardwick a few years. I'm not writing them off just yet, obviously. But does it look like they're going to make it again? I don't think they're going to.
I think a lot of people, including me, went a bit too early on them and thought, oh, well, they've got the coach, they'll do it straight away up with the list. It's going to take a bit of time with the factors that they have Jed Walter, Ethan Reid, Jake Rogers, all players.
Will Graham, Clousey
as well. They've all played less than 15 games. They're going to take time to develop.
Yeah.
And they've still got to try and learn the game style that Damien Hardwick wants to implement. So
I think we give them a couple of years, but again, it's going to be another year of these finals. It's going to another year of irrelevancy.
The sad thing is also they had the easiest fixture They
they
had
do.
one of the easiest fixtures. They played North Melbourne, they played West Coast twice. Maybe West Coast isn't as easy as what people think, but at the moment...
Well, they already got them this season, I think, haven't they?
Yeah, they got them a couple weeks ago. Last week, sorry.
Yeah, so they've already got them. They will have them in WA, which will be the question mark as well. The one thing they have done, the Gold Coast, which you've got to give them credit for, is they've started to make their home ground a fortress.
Yeah.
So that is a good sign for the Gold Coast.
But they haven't really played anyone good, though.
I was going to say that. They have not played anyone very good. And the teams that they've played away haven't been the greatest. I mean, they've been okay, but they're starting to get into a couple of games in the next couple of weeks. The next 2 games are at TIO Stadium. One's against Geelong, so that's a very interesting game. And they've had a very good record up in Darwin.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that pans out. But right now, it's a little bit disappointing, the Suns. I feel like that they should have won this game.
Yeah, it was a game that they could have made an absolute giant statement.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They played like
they played
normally
like
do.
They did. Yeah, they played like a team that just not ready for that next step. I feel like that's what the Gold Coast were. Now, let's move on. We'll talk a little bit about Melbourne. Melbourne were very good on the weekend against the Cats. They won and beat the team who was undefeated.
Thanks to you.
I am sorry, guys. Very sorry to the Geelong fans out there. But I think that I can't trust Melbourne just yet. I think that they have beaten... Are they going to be able to keep Jeremy Cameron and Tom Hawkins goalless in a big final? That's just my thoughts about it.
Yeah.
And can they kick a winning score? I feel like that's what's... I mean, look, let's be honest. We could bank almost 3 or 4 goals a game the majority of the season. I know Tom Hawkins has been in terrible form. He hasn't kicked a goal in a month. But as towards the end of the season, because Geelong have banked so many wins so far, they'll make top 4, you would think now. I think it should be very difficult for them to miss. They have enough games down in Geelong.
And they play North Melbourne again.
Yeah, so they'll be fine. They'll make the finals and they'll probably make top 4. But you got to bank them at a minimum 4 goals a game for both of them, I would say. I think both
combined, you mean?
Combined.
Yeah.
Cameron and Hawkins with 4 goals a game.
Yeah.
So Melbourne did extremely well, and Tom McDonald has to get the kudos. He got 2 votes in the Banner Riders medal, by the way. 2 votes because he deserved it.
Yeah.
So much better than the Brownlow.
Yeah, and Jake Lever did really well again, and Stephen May as well.
3 votes to Jake Lever. Stephen May missed out on the votes he was very close. But what I'm saying is that the Banner Riders medal is the most important thing in the world. No, what I'm saying is Melbourne's defence held up extremely well. Yeah. And Geelong they were kind of due for a loss, let's be honest. So you're not going to win every game this season. I don't think... I would be very surprised if we see a season of 23 wins in a row ever. I think that's not going to happen. But... at the end of the day, Geelong were going to lose, and I mean it's probably good to get a loss out of the way around now.
Well, probably like a lot of people, coaches say, it's good to get that loss.
Yeah, because
you learn a lot.
Because winning does obviously cover over some of the cracks.
Yeah, you learn a lot more in a loss than you. Yeah.
So I'm not counting off Geelong by any means, and I even said in the review that if Cameron has a decent game up to that point late in the last quarter. Even if he's just got a goal or 2, he kicks those last 2 goals and they win the game.
Yeah.
So I'm not writing off Geelong just yet. But I was very impressed by Melbourne.
Yeah.
I think that they still need to find that key forward. I think that Petty is starting to get in there and Disco's starting to do okay. Yeah. But I still think that Ben Brown needs to improve. And I still think he needs to be in that team to win.
And they're still too reliant on Bailey Fritsch. Do you think that was goal of the year?
I feel like Stengels was better, to be honest with you, in the game. I wish I was going to stream that game too, and I fucking was like, no, you know what, I'm too tired, I can't do this. I could have commentated those 2 moments, it would have been great clips. You know that Rankin one's got nearly 11,000 on TikTok? Bang. And they've actually got some nice comments too. This week, there's been no shit comments. I think it's just Collingwood supporters. Fuck Collingwood. Anyway, I think that's... at the moment, Melbourne have definitely risen on my thoughts, though.
Yeah.
And looking back, we'll get into the predictions at the start of the year, sort of in a minute with Carlton. But you did pick that Melbourne were going to be outside the 8.
Yeah, I might be eating my own words on that one.
Yeah, I think at the moment, I thought Melbourne were going to make the 8. I think they'll make. I think pretty sure you can make the 8 now with Melbourne. They'll be able to defend. They'll be able to kill the teams down the bottom with their defence. And they won't be able to score. The teams above them, I still think they're going to have to find a way to kick a better score. I mean, they got 74 points against Geelong, which got them over the line. But like
probably
I said,
in 9 of the next you play that game 9 out of the next 10 times, Geelong probably win that.
Yeah.
Because Jeremy McCammon would nail those.
Yeah.
And they'd lose that game. And we'll be talking about how good Geelong are.
Yeah, exactly. But you got to give credit to Melbourne.
Yeah.
They've done very well this season so far. And that was their biggest test, really, other than the Sydney game earlier in the season, and they stood up to it. So that's good to see. Let's move on to Carlton. Are they sort of the pretenders at the moment? I think that's a very interesting call. I've recorded a couple of statistics for Carlton right now. So looking at it, Carlton are sitting at 8th spot on the ladder. They got 5 wins and 3 losses. Their losses, 2 of them have been to good teams in Geelong and Collingwood. We're expecting them to probably be top 4 this year. One of them was to the Crows, but they've lost 3 of their past 4 games, which is very concerning. And their wins have been against the Brisbane Lions by 1 point, the Tigers by 5, North Melbourne by 56, which is basically a 10-point win, Fremantle in very controversial circumstances by 10 points, and then the Giants by 19. So they've beaten the Lions, who were very poor this season so far, the Tigers, who are 17th on the ladder by just under a goal, North Melbourne, who cares, Fremantle in very controversial circumstances. Let's just give them that win. And then the Giants, which is probably their best win of the season so far. They also, another thing as well, Carlton's defence has always been pretty lauded as a pretty decent defence. Right now, they are the 5th worst team for conceding scores, only in front of the teams in the bottom 4 being West Coast, Hawthorn, Richmond, and North Melbourne. So they've conceded the 5th most amount of points this year.
Yeah.
They can't win a premiership if they're going to be doing that.
No.
Now, I understand they have a lot of injuries, but so does everyone else.
Yeah.
Okay? Sydney are missing out on, they're only just starting to get back their midfield. They're on top of the ladder. Geelong have had a couple of players be in and out this year. They are second on the ladder. Melbourne, maybe not so much Melbourne, but there are clubs that have got injuries. You got to cover them. Yeah. At the moment, I think Carlton still have a pretty decent lineup in. If you've got the likes of Wiedering in your side, I know he missed the first couple of weeks, but they won those games. You got Curnow, Mackay, Cripps, Walsh, who's back now. Yeah. This team should be competing for top 4. They're sitting in 8th spot. Yeah. I'm not going to write them off as pretenders just yet, but things need to improve.
I think that Wiedering has been way down this year.
Yeah.
Since he's come back, and the fact is that he's not getting in the positions that he needs to be.
Yeah.
He's not being the second to last player in the defense, being able to take the intercept marks. He's not leading them in the back line.
Maybe his confidence may not be there. That may be a thing. Maybe because of his injury. I don't know, but that is a big talking point. Jacob Wiedering last year, especially on their big run that they had, he was you couldn't get past him.
Yeah.
He was such a great defender for them. And at the moment, I think that Carlton, there are a couple of question marks. And they've got Melbourne this week, which is going to be, I'll get more into that in the tips, but that's a very hard game for them. So right now, and the thing is with Melbourne, they'll keep you very low on the scoreboard. Yeah. So if you can't score enough, and we can see that Carlton are conceding a lot so far this start of this season, they may struggle against Melbourne.
Yeah.
So that is a real danger game for them. We'll see how that one pans out. We'll talk about that more later. But right now, you pick Carlton to be 21 wins and 2 losses at the start of the season.
And they're already at 3 losses.
They're already at 3 losses. So they're going to go on a big run. That's what we're looking at. 16 wins in a row.
They're going to win the next...
15
Are we one loss off, all right?
I agree. I think that's good. Now, I picked them very high as well, but I didn't pick them that high. But I do think right now that a lot of people have fallen for Carlton a little bit too easily.
Yeah.
At this stage. Like very early on. Sam McClure saying that they're premiership favourites and they're not picking them for the flag. Maybe he was onto something. Maybe he realised, oh shit, that's not going to happen. But right now, Carlton, they've got to improve really quickly because if they lose to Melbourne, they'll be out of the 8.
Well, the next 2 weeks they've got Melbourne and then they got the Swans.
Yeah, so that's a massive game as well, obviously. I think they match up better on Sydney, to be honest, because I think that Tom McCartan won't be back by then. But that's another injury concern as well. We'll talk a little bit about the suspension of Callum Brown. Do you believe that he deserved 3 weeks?
I think it maybe only should have been 2. I think 3 is excessive, but with the fact is that the AFL's just picking and choosing which a head knock is going to be worth more than not. they seem at the moment.
There's no consistency.
There's no consistency at all. Like, even with these gut punches that everyone's doing at the moment, because at the start of the year, Pendlebury did it. He's the good guy. They said, nah, that's fine. Everyone else is doing it. Well, that's the precedence you set at the start of the season. Every single gut punch is going to be a fine now because you set the precedence that it's not a week.
Yeah.
And I think
you were very in the inbox with this Lockie Schultz. Sorry, you thought it should have been more.
Lockie Schultz, that was a coward punch. He's running. Was it Blake Acres? Blake Acres was running back into the contest for a throw in, and Lockie Schultz just runs up to him and punches him straight in the back of the neck.
Yeah, very close to the back of the head.
Yeah, and he gets 1 week.
Yeah,
you're joking, right? It's intentional. It's high impact.
Yeah,
it's not low impact or whatever it was.
I would at least go medium at the very least.
It's like, come on.
Yeah,
and you give him 1 week for that. You go out you go out in the suburbs in public. You can end up in jail for that.
Yeah,
for just that hit.
He's very lucky that he did collect him in the neck, because if he did hit him in the back of the head, it could have been worse.
Yeah,
for him. And yeah, he's very lucky, because when that happened as well, I saw the footage. Like, people could make the argument, I didn't hit him that hard, but
that doesn't matter.
Yeah, the guy, like, Agers just pushed him and he came back and hit him in the back of the head.
Yeah.
Like, that's not good to see.
Like, I think this goes also back to the fact is that if Toby Green did this, how many weeks do you think he would have got? He probably got 4 or 5.
Yeah.
For that sort of hit.
Yeah.
But Lockie Schultz doesn't.
Because of the history that like the likes of a Toby Green would have compared to a Lockie Schultz. Obviously, there's a lot of a difference.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be adjudicated on the good guy act. Now, I know Charlie Cameron got away with that for a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, I think it's stupid. With the Callum Brown one, I was saying to you it should have been maybe 2, maybe 3. I think maybe 2 or 3. When you watch it, and being a Swans fan, maybe a few of you would believe that I would be absolutely ropeable about this. I think that Callum Brown did almost everything he could have to avoid that contact. The problem was, at the end of it, he braced with his shoulder.
Yeah.
Which looks like a bump. And they want to get that action out of the game. So I understand why he got 3 weeks. I feel like 3 is a bit harsh, but at the end of the day, the AFL are just throwing weeks out of fucking thin air.
Yeah.
They're just picking them out of thin air. Oh, Jack Higgins tackled someone who was already going to ground, 3 weeks. Lockie Schultz hit someone in the back of the head, well, nearly in the back of the head, in the neck, when he's not even paying attention. Could have been knocked him out, because that sort of stuff, when you get stunned in the back of the head, can fucking damage you. 1 week.
It was just 1 week.
Yeah, it's only 1 week, guys. Fucking hell. Anyway. And I just think that's crap. But with the Callum Brown stuff, I believe, and he was so apologetic when it happened. As soon as he did it, he put the hands up. He took the contact from the Swans players.
From Blakey, absolutely ran at him.
Which is fair enough as well.
Yeah.
But then as soon as he got up as well, Tom McCartney got taken off the ground. Callum Brown went straight to him and said, "Are you alright?"
Yeah. And
it shook him as well. So I believe that Callum Brown didn't mean it. I understand why they've given him 3 weeks. I don't think it was as bad as... I don't think it deserved it, but I don't think that... I understand why they've given it 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So I think it's... At the end of the day, I get why they've done it. But yeah, it's kind of the suspension stuff, all of that. I think that may be the time to get into our fan favourite segment. It is. Now, guys, you may be sitting here looking at my brother thinking, why the hell is he so twitchy right now? Why is he turning red? He has been furious. Of course, this segment... I should have introed this. Of course, our fan favourite segment is back with the Flog of the Week. Now, I'm sure everyone who's watched this podcast before would know what the Flog of the Week's about. It's about calling out the biggest arsehole, biggest idiot. This could be in the media, anywhere in the football space. You know, a couple of commenters. Oh, God, I'm going to fucking give it to a couple of them. I haven't done that. Now, this week, I was pretty sure we were going to go with Sam McClure earlier in the week because of his dumbass fucking comment about saying that the AFL fixture should be coming out a lot earlier. Sorry, a lot more close together. So for some fucking reason, he didn't even give really a reason. But when Richo sat there and said, "Oh, well, families have to plan their trips," he's like, "Oh, who gives a fuck? Fucking who cares? I get a paid job to go talk about football and be a fuckwit. Fucking, I get enough money to pay my barber to slick through fucking 3 kilos of gel through my hair every week. who gives a fuck about the regular everyday family who has to plan a trip to go to the football? That was going to be my flog of the week, and that would have been a pretty good one. But you were adamant. You said, no, he's already got a nomination. He can't have more than one. That wasn't really the reason why I was more than happy to give it to my brother. But he's gone with a Port Adelaide. He's gone with Port Adelaide here. We'll let him talk and explain in a minute. But of course, this has to do with Connor Rosie's injury. So, you've written down a couple of things. You've been very angry, very vocal about this. Take it away.
Okay, we're going to do this. I'm not happy about doing this. But I have to call this out. At the end of last week, you lose Aliir, you lose Sampao Pepper, and you lose Connor Rosie to injury. You get Sampao Pepper, ACL out for the year. Concussion to Aliir, out for a week. You get Rosie, do a hamstring, and he can play off a 6-day break. You're joking, right? You're absolutely joking. A 6-day break for a hamstring injury.
It shocked the majority of the world that he was playing.
Yeah. The only reason you play him is because it's a showdown. That's the only reason you're playing him. And it's crap. And Kenny came out and said, it's all my fault. Yes, it's your fault for picking him, but also you got to pick the club doctor. Unless if you're the doctor, he has some part into it. And
so who are you giving the flog of the week to? The doctor and Ken Hinkley?
Yeah, I am. Because this is... you can't just put it all on Kenny. A lot of people would, because he did come out and say 100% it was me, but the doctor has some sort of care on this.
Duty of care with the player. So I agree, and I think that if this wasn't I understand a showdown's a big deal, but is a showdown worth 6 or 7 weeks without your captain?
Well, yeah. Well, you look at this, and Kenny goes up after the game, and he says this, and he says, he was fine during training, and he could kick a long ball during training, and he did everything there. And then he said, but when fatigue set in, it was clear that he couldn't continue. What did you expect? What the AFL? There's AFL and training are completely different things. The same.
He's got fatigue in training, and that was hampering him.
Yeah, come on, you can't say that fatigue wasn't going to be a factor in the game. Yeah. It was always going to be a factor. And if you think that a hamstring injury was fine after 6 days, you're joking.
Yeah.
And I really hope that it's not more than 2, then it's more than a week. Not more than a week. But you go back on Port's injury list just this year. You look at Ollie Wines, hamstring injury. He did take a week off, and he came back the week after. Okay. Jason Horne-Francis. He goes out for 2 weeks for a hamstring injury. They said he was only going to be a week, and they gave him the extra just to get really ready. What's the difference? What? Because he's your captain. Jason Horne-Francis is younger, and it's the same. He's one of your prime midfielders. Ollie Wines, a Brownlow medalist, great midfielder. They're all midfielders. They're all great players in that midfield. And Rosie, of a 6-day break for a hamstring, he was joking.
Yeah. I was very shocked when I saw him lined up in the showdown game. I was very shocked. I thought that there was no way in hell he plays at all. And I know that it's Connor Rosie. I understand he's probably Port Adelaide's, if not equal best player with Zach Butters, I would say. They're very different players, but I do believe that they're best. But at the end of the day, you need to cover you can cover a midfielder. And I know it's Connor Rosie. You can't cover him fully, but you can use another player in that midfield group. Jackson Mead has proven to himself that he can, be pretty capable around the stoppages for Port and could cover that. And they could use extra numbers through there to help out with the other midfielders. Drew's been very good this year. Zach Butters has been brilliant as well. Jason Horne-Francis has been able to run through there as well. But the fact that they played Connor Rosie meant that when he came out of this game, they were a player down. Yeah. And then, of course, after the player was down, then you're one less. You got less to work with in the game. Port Adelaide could have easily subbed out one of their tools in that game in the 3/4 time break, if it wasn't for the fact that Connor Rosie was playing injured. Now we go back to 2022 in the grand final with Sydney and Sam Reid playing, and obviously didn't cost them the game. Sydney got flogged. But again, you shouldn't be playing injured players. And the thing is as well, it sets the mindset of the younger players. Oh, so Connor Rosie at 60% is better than me at 100?
Yeah.
So it sets the precedent in the younger players of saying, oh, you're going to pick... I know it's Connor Rosie, but I could have played this game and had at least a bit of an impact and, got some experience. It's going to set that in the younger player's mind. I should have probably been playing this game. That's just the thing. And I'm not saying that there's going to be a huge culture problem. I'm not going to sit here and fucking blow out fucking bullshit statements to fucking get a clip out of it. But I do think that it'll sit in a couple of younger players' minds thinking, I could have played in the showdown.
Yeah. And you got to think also, he's missed he played the showdown. But now he's missing against Geelong this weekend.
Yeah.
And if he missed the showdown, which they weren't going to win really, if you look at it on paper, without Aaliyah and Sam Papapa.
Connor Rosie wasn't adding much to that game.
Yeah, you're not going to... I don't think Connor Rosie at full fitness would have won in that game. I don't think they would have. And I could be wrong. I could have been wrong. But I think if you lose Aaliyah and Papapa, you're not going to win a lot of games.
To be fair, though, Port Adelaide did have 23 scoring shots. They kicked 5 goals, 18.
Yeah.
So, if they kicked straight, they would have won the game.
Yeah.
I don't think that had anything to do with Connor Rosie, though.
Yeah.
I don't think that he was that good in that game to begin with anyway. I think he had some moments in the first half, but as soon as he did when he started to limp around, he was off the ground for a good quarter and a bit before they actually subbed him out as well. They tried to get him to run, they chucked him straight back in the stoppage, and he didn't have any impact. So they were trying to get him to get on they chucked him on the bike. I think he was off for at least 25 minutes. It would have been off for at least 15, 20, I would say, before they actually brought him back on, because they tried to get him to, get on the bike, try and get some movement in the hammy, try and get it warm or whatever. This was through the second term through the third term. I think a little bit towards the late second term, I believe he was off the ground. And he stayed off for 8 to 10 minutes in the third term, trying to get it warmed up. They got him into the game. And then everyone on the commentary was saying, okay, so we should be able to get out the game at 3/4 time. He's sitting on the bench. So, again, and that's also Jackson Mead sitting there on the bench, waiting to get into this game.
Yeah.
And he can't get on because they're just trying to see if Connor Rosie can go. So they can't so everyone's at a standstill on the bench, watching to see if Connor Rosie can get back on. And then, obviously, Jackson Mead's missed out on a quarter and a bit. But Port Adelaide have also missed that extra midfielder.
Yeah.
Because Jackson Mead would have been able to take over. And I don't know if keep mentioning him, but I understand that Connor Rosie is a much better player at this stage of his career. But, that could have been someone that could have injected some leg speed into the game. And also, Mitch Georgiades got injured in this game as well. So it's another injury.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that Port Adelaide, it was a dumb decision to play him. And now he's going to miss the next couple of weeks. And now, it also sets the thing as well. If Connor Rosie got off a week off, comes back this week, now Butters could have potentially been able to have a free game. Now Geelong are going to lock down Butters. Don't have to worry about Rosie. And now, basically, Drew, the one thing is Ollie Wines can go through the midfield again.
Yeah.
And play a more prominent role. But that's the thing. He could have done that in the showdown. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, it would have pissed you off a whole lot more than me.
If we did this on Friday morning, I would have absolutely
blown a gas.
Yeah. But at the moment, the Port Adelaide, Kenny Hinkley and the Doctor are my number one pick for Flog of the Year
at the moment.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a bit biased. So mine's still Josh McLean. I want him to win it just because I want him to have some sort of notoriety in the world. Because no one knows him anywhere. But right now, he's the only thing he's been known for is a couple of maybe 100 viewers who watch this, 50 to 100 listeners who listen to this, they would know the name.
Yeah.
That is the only person who knows who the fuck Josh McLean is. And maybe it's something you wouldn't do that if you don't watch watch up to halfway through the podcast. But anyway, the flog of the week this week is Ken Hinkley and the Port Adelaide Doctor. That's basically what we're going with? Okay, fair enough. Sam McClure is very close. Fucking idiot. And by the way, we can give more than one nomination to a person, but I do agree that Ken Hinkley and the Port Adelaide for playing Connor Rosie in that state was stupid and deserves a nomination. Deserves to be put on notice.
Yeah.
I'm sure Ken's getting on the phone. As soon as this gets posted, he's going to be like, Ken, are you sure You better call up David Cost right now and see if he's still got the job. Because did you just see that the guys on the Boundary Riders podcast just gave you the Flog of the Week nomination? You're like, no! Anyway, let's move on. Let's get into round 9. And we will start with our tips. A couple of big games this weekend. And we do start on Thursday night at the MCG. Probably the game of the round with Carlton versus Melbourne. So I'll get into my tips first. I've gone the Demons over Carlton. Friday night, I've gone Geelong over Port Adelaide. Friday night as well, I've gone Sydney over Fremantle. Saturday afternoon, I've gone Hawthorn over St Kilda down in Tassie. Saturday evening, I've gone GWS over Essendon. Big game, that one. Saturday night, I've gone the Bulldogs over Richmond. Saturday night as well, I've gone the Gold Coast Suns over North Melbourne. Sunday early game, I've gone Collingwood over the Eagles. And in the final game of round 9, I've gone the Crows over Brisbane. Let's get into your tips.
Alright, so on Thursday night, I've went the Demons over Carlton. Friday night, I've went Geelong over Port Adelaide. Also on Friday night, I've went the Swans over the Dockers. Saturday afternoon, I've went the Saints over the Hawthorn. Saturday afternoon as well, I've went Essendon over the Giants. Saturday night, I've went the Bulldogs over Richmond. Also Saturday night, I went the Gold Coast over North Melbourne. Sunday, I've went Collingwood over the Eagles and the Crows over the Lions.
Alright, so we've got a couple different this week. But we will start right at the start of the round. Carlton versus Melbourne. I have gone Melbourne because, as I said last week, and this is why I picked Collingwood over Carlton, Carlton just won't have Mackay or Curnow leading enough, and they just bomb it in, and Melbourne are going to have a field day with this. We saw it against Geelong. If the Melbourne defence get on top, they're very hard to beat. And we talked about it a little bit earlier in the podcast, but Carlton right now are the 5th worst team for conceding scores, and only in front of the teams in the bottom 4. So I think that Carlton's defence are going to struggle. Melbourne will be able to do enough to stop Carlton kicking a bigger score. I think they match up very nicely, the Melbourne defenders on the Carlton forwards. The one thing I will say though, I do think Carlton have a much better forward line. So if they can get on top, I think Melbourne will struggle because we can see they really find it tough to score. But at the moment, I trust Melbourne's defence over Carlton's forward line. That's why I've tipped Melbourne.
Yeah, I went Melbourne because I trust their forward line more than I trust Carlton's defence.
Okay.
Because I don't think that Carlton have a game plan to play against Fritsch. I really don't. I think they have got that one. Yeah, and I think at the moment, with the high of beating Geelong at their best stage of the season, their defence should be able to hold up.
Next up, we get to the Swans versus the Dockers. So this is at Optus Stadium. I think this is such a big game. I think the matchups in this one will be massive through that midfield, and I think that's where this game's going to be won, in the midfield battle. If the Swans can play as tough as they did last week against the GWS midfielders, I think the Swans will win this one comfortably. But if Fremantle can dominate through the middle of the ground, we do see that Luke Jackson will probably be the sole ruck this week because I think Sean Darcy will likely be out. I do think that Fremantle can definitely give this one a shake. Tom McCartney's a pretty big out for Sydney, but I do think that the likes of Dane Rampy can match up on Amos pretty well. And I think that Melican's had a brilliant year so far for Sydney, very underrated year. I think he'll match up on probably Tracy, I would say. Maybe the other way around because Tracy does tend to get up the ground. Sydney's forward line as well need to perform. They need to bring the ball to ground because Fremantle's defence has probably been one of the best this year. Luke Ryan coming off a 39 possession game, who was massive. Alex Pearce, the worst defender in the AFL according to you, has had a very good year, All-Australian year. But I think this is going to be very big. But I do think that Sydney just have a little bit more class on that wing as well with Errol Gulden. I don't know if they can stop him. And if Chad Warner gets off the leash in the midfield, as he's done a lot this year, him, Heaney, Gulden, I just think they're a little bit more classy through that midfield at the moment. And I think that's why Sydney will win.
Yeah. I've went the Swans because I think their midfield is better than the Dockers on the fact is that they get more score involvements and they get more into the attack than the Freo Dockers midfield do. Isaac Heaney, Errol Gulden and Chad Warner in the top 5 for score involvements in the league.
And they've got the likes of James Rowbottom running through their highest tackler in the AFL at the moment.
Yeah. The Swans forward line may have a tough task, but I think if they chuck James Jordan onto Luke Ryan...
Yeah, he had a massive game last week on Lockie Whitfield.
Yeah, it's a bit different. Lockie Whitfield isn't that intercept player, and Luke Ryan
so James
is...
Jordan's going to have to make himself dangerous early. That's what he's going to have to do to make Luke Ryan accountable.
And they do have a good record in Perth. I know that the West Coast haven't been great, and Freo have been up and down the last couple of years, but they do have a good record there.
Let's move into Hawthorn versus St Kilda, because that was our first different pick of the week. I've picked Hawthorn, one, because this is down in Tasmania. They have a very good record down there. St Kilda, they played pretty poorly against North Melbourne, only won by 35 points, which at the moment is not a very big win against North at all. And Hawthorn brought something last week against the Western Bulldogs, which we haven't seen this year. A little bit of spirit, a little bit of fight, and I think that Sam Mitchell is going to breed into him. We can win 2 in a row here. We've got a team that's low, a team that's not in the best of form. Right now, Max King can't score, but I do think that Hawthorn, if they can win this around the middle, that's where they need to win it though, because St Kilda right now, that's where they can win this game. But if they can win, if they can at least get 50-50 in the midfield, they can get it forward. They've got some dangerous players up there. And St Kilda can't score at the moment. So if Hawthorn can kick 75, 80 plus, I think they'll probably win this game.
Yeah, I went in the Saints just for the fact is that a lot of people aren't really talking about this, but the fact is that Jimmy Webster came back and they put Sinclair straight into the midfield. I think it's a huge difference.
He does give a little bit of difference in that midfield. And the likes of Jack Steele and Wynn Hager, there are a lot more of those stoppage clearance.
Yeah, like we were talking about Freo.
Yeah, with Hayden Young.
Yeah, but and the fact is that they just need to somehow get Wanganeen Malera and Brad Hill at the same time playing well. I don't think Wanganeen Malera played that well against North Melbourne, impact-wise. And I think if they can get them both working, I think they can get a good score.
Last game, we'll talk about another tip between us that we decided differently. Giants versus Essendon. I've gone the Giants. I think Tom Green plays. I think he was a massive out against Sydney last week. And I think Adam Kingsley was absolutely ropeable by their performance in that second quarter. Did you see some of the highlights? I would not want to make him angry. The biceps of that man. If there's not a couple of holes in the downstairs of the away rooms in the SCG, I don't know what's happening. I feel like there's at least 3 holes in there, and I don't think the Giants are going to let that happen again.
Yeah.
Tom Green was a massive out though. Now the game was a lot different. This is at Marvel, a lot more of a quicker game, a lot more of a quicker ground, of course. But I think when they lost Tom Green last week, there was no real grunt in the midfield. There's that... Josh Kelly is a bigger body, but he's not a big body midfielder. The likes of Tom Green, he brings that difference. And if he's fit, I feel like that brings something different. I feel like they still win this game without him because it is at Marvel. I don't see the Bombers' forward line can compete against the Giants' defence. I think they had a stinker last week, and I don't think that happens again. That's why I think that the Giants of like Sam Taylor, Buckley, who played okay, but they are a lot better than what they did against Sydney. I don't think they have 2 stinkers in a row. I think that's where they're going to beat the Bombers.
I've went Essendon because I reckon Zach Merritt is in career best form. And they may try and put a tag on him, but I think that if that happens, Darcy Parish can get off the leash. And
which kind of... Well, I mean, he had a good game last week as well, Darcy Parish against the Eagles.
And Nick Martin's in career best form, and I think his drive off halfback could affect them. And I think no one's not talking about him this year, but Andy McGrath is playing in great form, and I think
Australian form right now.
And I reckon he'll go straight to Toby Green. And even though Toby Green's had a terrible season to his standards, I think that they'll shut him down. Toby, Bedford and all the smalls aren't playing that well either. It's going to be one in the midfield, and if Tom Green isn't back, I think that Essendon could have a field day in the midfield.
I think as well is the Giants flogged them by 126 points.
Yeah,
so
I think
that's a point to prove as well, the Bombers. Before we move into the AFL Fantasy, let's just quickly break down the Channel's AFL Tipping League. I thought I'd do it last week, sorry. Anyway, last week wasn't important. This week it's important because your boy Dylan has absolutely climbed the ranks. He's jumped into equal third spot. He got a 6-week tipping. Oh, absolutely brilliant. He equal top score with a couple of people in the league. We had the likes of Paul, myself, Johnny getting 6 tips. Brilliant job, guys. We did really well. Pat on the backs to all of us. Brendan S still leads the tipping comp with 51 tips. He did have a 4-tip week though, pretty poor. He still holds a 3-point lead on myself and still has a 1-point lead on Kirsty. Kirsty did get 1 tip back though, she is on 50. And at the moment, my brother equal bottom with a shocking week of 3 tips, the worst out of the league.
Yeah, I tried to go for some out there tips and they all failed.
He tipped Richmond, over Fremantle. What the fuck was
And
that?
I was the only one that took Gold Coast over Brisbane.
Yeah, which is even weirder.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not even as weird. I don't know why you tipped Richmond. So many people who put up a couple of clips on it were like, why the hell did you tip Richmond? And
Well, I was sure they were going to show some grunt. They just showed nothing.
yeah, it's
Again.
their injuries just too much.
Yeah, and I
report,
tipped, and a lot of people tipped Collingwood. I tipped,
Carlton.
yeah, the only one
That
that
was
was
a bit half and half.
the only one that was half and half. Well, the one that I went that was a lot of people thought they shouldn't have tipped is the Crows. Really, everyone thought.
Yeah,
the Crows,
I picked that one as well.
Yeah.
I guess I should have picked Sydney. I should have picked my team. Would have got 7 this week, but that was one I missed. But yeah, that's interesting because yeah, you went for a bit of out there tips that may have actually got you right back in it, but right now it's making you fall right off the pace. You're off 7 tips off top. So right now you're on bottom, equal bottom with Jacob on 44 with Daniel as well. So right now, Brendan S still leads with the 51 tips, like I just said. But that's basically the breakdown of the league this week, guys. So Brendan S leads it. Let's move to the AFL fantasy, of course. So let's break down my week. Oh my god, what a shit week I had. Christ. Tom Green, I had 7-point injury out at quarter time. Oh god. I had Matt Roberts as well, 49 points. This wasn't a game for the running, kicking halfback, so I do understand that. Luke Davies-Uniacke, could you play a little bit better, please? For Christ's sake, 74. You suck. Max Gawn got 92. I am going to say thank God because he only had about 60 in a three-quarter time.
Yeah, he was horrible.
He had a massive last quarter. Tom Powell, 71. At this point, the only reason why he's still on the team is because I've got such a shit forward line, bro. That's the only reason. Harley Reid, 55. Look, I mean, he is still a rookie, so I can't really give him too many bad points anyway. Elliot Yeo, another injury as well, got 62. Hopefully he's okay for this week. I don't know if he will be, but at this stage he isn't traded out of my team, but that will change if he's out. Other than that, though, on the positive side, Darcy Wilson, massive game from him, 100 points. Do you have him?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was good. McKercher, I called this last week. I told you he's going to have the Harry Sheezel role. He got 99. So he's back. I think he's going to be fine. Nick Martin, 119. Sam Walsh, 106. Happy with that. Nick Dacos and Hayden Young with 120 pluses. And my top scorer was Brody Grundy with the 134. Kind of wish I had Bain Zorko, but I can't have them all. Anyway. And Sam Flanders continues to play well, so that's good to see. My trades for this week. So, I got the Breville. I got B Revel. What's his first name?
Bruce.
Bruce
That's why it's Breville.
Yeah, I know. That's why I call him Breville. The Breville pressure cooker. I got him in this week. I've got rid of Aaron Cadman. That was for money. Aaron Cadman didn't get any price this week. Didn't drop. Didn't go up. So that's, I think, time to go. Had a pretty good start to the year, so I'm happy with that. And I have traded out Charlie Comben at this stage, and I've upgraded all the way to the top. Well, it was the top. Isaac Heaney. I've brought him in. He's got 90 and 99 in the last two, which is his lowest scores of the year. If that's his lowest, I'll take that. I was going to go with Dane Zorko, but I just felt like Isaac Heaney has the role, and I don't think Dane Zorko is going to have that big a game again. But on the other hand, I do think he's in for a good year, and I think he's my next target for a forward. But at this stage, that's why I've gone for Isaac Heaney. Absolutely gutted my salary. I've only got 9k left. But looking into next week, right now, I'm looking at Sam Walsh as my vice going into that Thursday game. And right now, I'm thinking that maybe the good idea would go to Marcus Bontempelli as the captain. It is a bit of a risk. But against Richmond, they have been one of the easier teams to score against this year. And other than that, it may be Sam Flanders. Those are really the only two I'm looking at right now for captain. That's really all my thoughts right now. We'll get into the league in a minute. But yeah, I did lose. Let's just put it that way. But right now, the next probably plan is to get rid of my rookies, really. Maybe a little bit of a look into the buys, a little bit of an eye on it, but not really a lot at this stage. And right now, next week, I'm looking to get rid of a reserve, and I'm going to try and upgrade Luke Davies-Uniacke. I think it's time that I have to get rid of him and maybe just get someone in the midfield, anyone in the midfield who's, that good price. I think if I get rid of a reserve, the likes of, probably not Graham, but maybe Thomas, who's at 431 right now, he's not gone up anymore. That's probably the one I'll be looking at. Get rid of him, get about 200k in the bank, and then right now Davies-Uniacke is 799. So right now, if I did get him for 200k, that's going to be 900, nearly $1 million. So right now, I could pretty much pick up nearly any midfielder. Sarong's there, Dunkley's there. Merritt's just off. I can't get Merritt. But, there's a couple of midfielders right there right now that I could probably pick up. That's probably where I'm looking at and leaning to in the next week or so in my breakdown of the week that was. What are you looking for this week?
Well, I had also another shit-ass week. Did you even score 2,000? What did you score?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to say that. Yeah, I got 1942. But, I mean, look, I had an injury to Tom Green. If he gets 100, let's say 90 at the worst, so I get 2,000. So I'm looking at it right now where I just got very unlucky this week. So what did you get?
I got 1961, so I did better. So I did better than you. But I probably was the only one that I would have only beaten you probably this week.
Because, I think there was only a few people who got under 1900.
Yeah. So I had the carnage of Yo, 62, Green of 7, Robert to 49, Gorn's captain's score of...
so really, this week we should have copied each other.
Yeah. I had Caldwell got injured in before three-quarter time.
What was his injury? It was a calf.
Calf, yeah.
So, yeah.
And
that's another injury.
the only ones that saved me in printers was Wilson, Grundy, and the Dacos and Young combination, really.
Yeah, and even Sheasel didn't do very well.
Sheasel was the first time playing midfield, but
even though I was on AFL Fantasy good, he did play. I think he had a little more.
Yeah.
So I think that's where he's going to stay. So maybe there's going to be a little bit of an AFL Fantasy watch, maybe a little bit of a dampener on his season, but for North's sake, I think that's where he has to play.
Yeah, and I was happy with Bailey Dale bringing him in last week for 105, so I'm happy with that. So my trades this week are... So I got rid of Charlie Comben and I got Breville.
The Breville?
Yeah.
Breville Breville.
And I don't think Yo plays this week, so I got rid of him and I got Nick Martin.
Okay, so you've finally got Nick Martin in the defence. So, yeah, that's also a caveat for me as well. My trades are definitely going to change if the likes of Elliot Yo isn't in. I feel like Tom Green plays, but if he doesn't, that may be a change as well. I may just hold on to him for a week and play a reserve.
Yeah.
But right now, that's another caveat. So, what is it looking... So, your trade, that was your trade. What's the next week or two?
So, this week, I went the VC on Grundy. His last 3 weeks have been... Well, he went 140... 70, 130. So
the one thing you need to look at is and this is talked about in the Sydney game. I don't think you saw it, did you? Did you see the Sydney GWS game?
Yeah.
Oh, you did. Okay. He has a massive record at the SCG. Everywhere else he's played poor.
Yeah.
So maybe next week. I don't know if that.
I haven't, but I don't know. I think also yes, if Darcy plays, that might change. If he doesn't, I think he could play around with Jackson in the contest. I think he could dominate. Around the ground is a questionable one, but on the field in the contest, I think Grundy could get a lot of hit outs. My captain this week's going to be Dale, with the fact that Freo had nearly four or five players over 100.
Oh, they had Brayshaw, Sarong,
Ryan
as well. Yeah, Ryan, who's off halfback.
Yeah,
so that may be.
So that's why I went Dale as captain. So the next couple of weeks, I'm going to try and get rid of Blake Howes, maybe Garcia, and try and fix up my forward line because, like, the fact.
Who is your forward line right now?
So I've got Flanders, Caldwell, Powell, and Isaac Heaney.
Oh, so you do have Isaac Heaney. Right.
Yeah,
you don't have that bad. You probably have too bad.
So I'm gonna so I'll need to try and upgrade the likes of Dempsey. Wilson's okay for a bit, and I think Harley Reid. So I'm just gonna try and get rid of Dempsey.
We've got the same forward line, don't we? Heaney, Flanders, Powell, Wilson. Christ, I've just forgotten them. Reid. And who's the other one?
You have Dempsey.
Yeah, so we've got the exact same forward lines right now. Just realised that.
Yeah. So
I don't think there's much more you can change.
I'm going to try and upgrade Dempsey by the end of next week. So if I get rid of, say, like a Blake Howes and take the 200k from that, get rid of Dempsey. I've already got 290 in the bank. So I'll get rid of Dempsey. I can get pretty much anyone in my forward line.
Yeah, you probably get Zorko.
Yeah. So I'll look at Zorko and
you even get a decent midfield.
Yeah. So I've got to try and look at that stuff and all that, but I'm looking at that, and yeah, Dane Zorko is the highest one for the for them, so maybe him.
Yeah. All right, let's look at the league quickly. So I did lose this week. You did as well.
Oh, yeah, I got flogged by nearly 150 points.
Yeah. Unfortunately, me and you are buddy doing.
The worst thing for me was the fact is that my captain got 184 and Dane Zorka got 182, who the guy that I played had. So I was screwed. Captain? No, but he had he beat my whole team.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So right now I'm sitting in 13th spot. You're sitting in 14th. Still got the lead. Whoa! Anyway,
only just.
Right now sitting in top spot is it still? Yeah, Brad SCG is still on top. The Swan supporter. Good on him. He's on 7-1 right now. Shillings for Billings is in second spot. Kegger Boom was it? That was the guy I beat, wasn't it, last week? Yeah. Or was that the guy I lost to this week? It was one of them anyway. I do remember. Yeah, I think it was one I beat last week. Yeah. Dave's Diggers is in 4th spot. I lost to 5th spot, which was Catherine. So Catherine beat me. Fucking hell.
Yeah, I just lost to Shillings for Billings on 2nd spot, and then this week I know I've got number 4 in Dave Diggers, so I'm screwed. I just want an easy run. Right?
I think I've got a bit of a lucky one this week. I'm not saying I'm going to win it, but I do have someone a little bit lower. I have Paul's Vikings, so Paul Perez, who's in 11th spot. So I've got a bit of a chance this week. But right now, I'm sitting in 13th spot. You're sitting in 14th. We've got to give this shout out to the guys in bottom. It is Malcolm, who is not going to win just yet. Pretty disappointing for you, Malcolm. Yet to get a win. I still believe in you. I don't think you're actually trying anymore, to be honest. I think he's actually given up. Sorry. Well, I guess that's a gimme win. He's like the North Melbourne. You need a win every now and then to make yourself feel a little bit better. So that's where I'm kind of looking at. Hopefully I get...
When do I play?
Hopefully I do
When do I play? When do I play?
Well, there is... I think you play everyone.
You play next week
okay,
after
so
this
that's
week.
where I can kind of fix up things. That's good. Anyway, so Brad Reid is the current leader of the AFL Fantasy League here for the Boundary Riders. But guys, that is everything for the football stuff. So let's quickly take a look at our world sport, basically our Premier League segment now, because other sports I don't think we really watch anymore at this point of the year. Arsenal still have the lead in the Premier League by 1 point. City still have their game in hand. Liverpool... I mean,
there's technically a chance.
There's technically a chance if Arsenal and City both lose their last 2 games. Well, City lose their last 3, and they're a
somehow a miracle.
Don't call it a comeback just yet. So there's still a chance, I guess. But let's be honest, they're gone.
They're out.
It's out of Arsenal and City. Chelsea with a big win actually get themselves.
Chelsea have won 9 of their past 13. 9 of the past 11 matches they've played.
Oh, they're on a fucking.
Yeah, they're trying to get the Europa League spot.
Yeah. Let's look at the results quickly though. So recently we saw Liverpool win 4-2 against Tottenham. They had a 4-0 lead, and it looked like it was coming back, but Tottenham couldn't get there.
Yeah, they just didn't have enough time.
Chelsea won 5-0 over West Ham. Yeah. They actually won a game they won against Everton a couple of weeks ago. That was completely overshadowed by fucking the penalty taking. So no one gave a fuck. They won 6-0 against Everton. They beat West Ham 5-0, and there was no fracas or anything. They actually won and everyone was celebrating. So it was a miracle for Chelsea. I'm happy about that. Brighton won 1-0 over Aston Villa. City won 5-1 over Wolves. That was not a surprise. Unfortunately for the relegation battle, Nottingham Forest did win.
Yeah, and I think
Sheffield United.
They need now. It's over. Luton just don't look like winning, so they just need one more point. Nottingham in their through.
Yeah, Burnley lost 4-1 over Newcastle. Brentford and Fulham played out a 0-0 draw. Arsenal won 3-0 over Bournemouth, and Luton Town were a draw against Everton. So looking at the table right now on the relegation side, Luton need to get a win, well, basically a win and a point to get out of it at this point, because their goal difference is -11 worse on Nottingham. So looking at the relegation battle right now, Brentford are fine, they're in 16th. Nottingham are in 17th spot, they are on 29 points. Luton Town are on 26 points, Burnley are on 24 points, and Sheffield United are already relegated on 16. There it is, fucking hell. I'll cut that out. Yeah. So right now, Burnley, they're basically gone. They're the Liverpool of the race. They're basically sitting in the championship next year.
Yeah, mathematically they can get out.
Mathematically they're a chance. But they do have Nottingham in the last game. So if they can win the next one, what a game is set up.
You kind of want it, don't you? You kind of want that to happen, but
that's what you want. But who is their next game, Burnley? They play against... Well, they're playing Tottenham, who have lost their last 4. So they're a chance.
Yeah,
It is away.
and just do it. Just lose. Just play. Like, make it interesting on the final day.
Yeah, well, Tottenham are doing everything to try and lose the European spot. What are
Yeah.
they doing? I don't want to be mean.
It's
to it
Tottenham.
because- Yeah, I don't even think it's Ange at this point. It is just Tottenham. But anyway, Luton Town, they've got 2 games to go to try and get out of it. They've got West Ham next week, and they've been in very poor form. West Ham haven't won a game in their last 5, and their last game is against Fulham, who haven't been the greatest either. So they're a chance, but they need to win. I think they need to beat West Ham to give themselves a chance.
Yeah.
What a week, what a final day was set up for if Luton Town win against West Ham and Burnley beat Tottenham.
And Nottingham lose.
And Nottingham lose. So who do Nottingham have? They have Chelsea. Come on, Chelsea. We're going to win this. Come on, up the Blues. Yeah. That's a chance. But they've won their last 2, Chelsea. So they're somewhat back in form. But it's hard to judge. It's really hard to judge at the moment where they're at. Because they're winning games and they're flogging teams. But then when they come up against a lower side, occasionally they'll just not show up and not play at all. So I think Nottingham could be a chance. But at this point, I think right now the relegation battle's done.
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, all the 3 teams that got promoted last season will be getting relegated. Let's quickly take a look at the championship because the regular season is over. Leicester City have been promoted. They got the news about that a little bit earlier than Ipswich Town, who have been promoted. I am so happy about this. Fairy tale story for Ipswich. They were in League 1 2 seasons ago, and now they're in the top. They're at the Prem. And they have a couple of Australians as well. They have Wright and Luongo. So both of them are coming into the Premier League.
No, Burgess.
Is it Burgess?
It's not.
Right.
No.
Okay, so
Burgess.
Burgess, okay. My favourite player. I followed his career my whole life. Burgess is in. So that's good to see a couple of Australians making the Premier League. And also Harry Suter as well for Leicester City. He'll be in the Premier League next season as well, unless they transfer them all out, and then who gives a fuck. But
we hope they all get relegated next season. But
yeah. Well, who knows? I don't know about I think Leicester probably have a chance to. I think they're pretty decent, and they'll be able to survive. Jamie Vardy's had a good year playing. He's only started 18 games this season, but he's kicked 17 goals. So I think they'll give him. He's out of contract, I've heard, but he'll get another year. He'll still get another year to play. Whoever they're playing, whoever Leicester, he can come on and score a goal. So they did nearly bottle it, Leicester, but they got a couple of decent games late in the season too. They won 3 of their last 4 games to get into the Premier League and lock down that spot, which was good. So Ipswich Town, they got themselves into the Premier League. Great to see. Right now though, we've got the playoffs. So this is I think the most exciting stuff about English football.
Yeah.
Really. Except for when there's a final day relegation or title race. I feel like this is like third on the ranks.
I think it's maybe second. I think it's better than a relegation battle.
Yeah, more entertaining. Yeah, probably more entertaining. Yeah, probably not. I mean, maybe
it's kind of when if it's played like Ipswich was playing in the final. The final
it was like
position.
look at Luton Town last year.
Yeah.
Well, in the playoff final as well, it was Luton Town versus Coventry.
Yeah.
Which was such a good game, and Luton Town got through. But whoever got through, it was always going to be a fairy tale.
Yeah.
This time, maybe not so much. Right now, unfortunately, it is 4 teams that have been in the Premier League the last few seasons, except for West Brom. So Leeds are in third spot. They will play Norwich in the playoff, and then Southampton have West Brom. I want West Brom to make it, but I think it's.
I just don't want Norwich.
So
please, can we not give Norwich another go at this? They've had so many tries.
They just come in and just be boring.
Yeah.
And suck. So right now, the playoffs will be on Sunday. Birthday for us, by the way. Leave us a happy birthday comment down below. We're obviously twins, so we're going to be on the same birthday. Shocker. Anyway, I may actually watch this. Wait.
It'll be on KO.
Will it be on KO?
Yeah, normally he's on BN Sport.
Okay, so if it is, I may watch this. 8:30 in Australia, Adelaide, so I think it's 9 p.m. in Melbourne. Norwich will play Leeds United, so massive. This is the first leg, and then West Brom will play Southampton. So the lower teams have the home game first. Do they have I think the away rule goal...
No, it doesn't
factor anymore. I don't think they have it anymore. They don't have it in the Champions League. I wouldn't imagine they have it.
Oh, they might actually. I can't remember. We should.
It's just a stupid rule. Anyway, we could have researched it, but that doesn't...
They should have not got rid of that.
I think they should have got... I think I'm happy they did get rid of it.
No, I think it ruins it. I think it absolutely ruins the Champions League now.
It's so stupid. Who cares? Who fucking follows...
Well, you look at it. Well, say a 3-0 win away. Yeah, it's
Yeah, you should be winning at home.
Yeah, but I think it gives you the event. I think it gives the entertainment of an away goal. Those ties.
We can argue about it all day, I guess. But anyway, so those games are on Sunday, the 12th of May, and then after that they come back for the second leg on the 17th. This is the Leeds game between Norwich. So that's on Friday at 4:30 a.m. Oh, God, I'm not doing that. I'll watch the highlights. And then Saturday morning, Southampton will play West Brom. And then the championship will be at 1:30 in the morning on a Monday. You dogs put it on a Sunday morning, and I'll maybe wake up for it. You dogs. So now I have to watch the highlights in the morning before work. Ugh. Anyway, that will be the final playoff, and that will decide who makes the Premier League. I feel like it's going to be Leeds. I feel like it's just going to be
I think it will.
It's going to be third spot. I feel like that's the boring part, isn't it? I really hope to see a team like West Brom. We haven't seen them in the Premier League for a few years. I feel like that'd be good to see. I would rather... Or Southampton. I feel like if I want to tier them, I want to see West Brom, Southampton, Norwich, Leeds. Not that I have a problem with Leeds, but they're third. You don't want to see them, mate. You want to see it under.
I just can't watch Norwich do it again. I put Norwich last. Leeds... West Brom, Southampton up top. I'd love to see Southampton. I always had a soft spot for them since Liverpool stole all their players.
Yeah,
right?
true.
Yeah,
that's like they're like
it's like having a bet. Yeah, so it's like if Southampton come back up and Liverpool can scout it. Liverpool can scout it. So
yeah, it's like a distant cousin. You just got to bring a couple of boys, we're back. We'll take you. We'll take you. Anyway, all right, guys, that's basically what we have for this episode of the Boundary Riders podcast, episode 62. I think I got that right. Sounds about right anyway. Wherever you were listening around the planet from the scramble. Thank you for listening, guys. If you did watch this on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for the support on the last couple of videos. We saw the part 2, about 7,000 views, so many likes. We really appreciate that. The trade video just put up today, first one of the year, has got massive. We've got a couple of really nice, weird comment. Some guy was talking about how much his wife is. Well, he said his wife, like, I'm tolerating my wife, basically. Good on you, bro. We really appreciate it. I feel like he was, like, off his face. But anyway, new trade videos got a lot of support, so we do really appreciate that. And that will be coming back throughout the end of the year, really. Like, we'll be doing a lot more of it. But, yeah, new video essay will be coming out Monday next week. We'll be about the Sydney Swans, about their 72-year drought. So that's a video that, like, I mean, it's not so much I don't know how many views it will get, maybe not. I'm working on a video essay that's a little bit more different, not so much history. A little bit something that I'm more would say more passionate about. I did talk to you about it. You seemed a little bit interested. You're like, that seems pretty cool. That's like him, buddy, dropping his pants, buddy, running down the fucking road. That's how it's for him. But anyway, I think it's an interesting topic to talk about. And I think it's something that isn't being talked about enough, to be honest. Other than a couple of commenters saying, "Oh, this sucks." But I feel like that is an actual thing that is like a dying art at the AFL. So I'll give you a little bit more information about that next week once I start to plan it out and stuff. But yeah, the video essay next week, guys. I'm trying to release them every 2 weeks now. I was going to go over every 3, but I think we can get every 2. I think it's something that, especially throughout the season, I think that's what I can do. Maybe towards the end of the season, in the off season, I'll maybe do 3, maybe once a month. We'll see. But that's kind of what we're working for the channel, guys. Thank you for listening, guys. If you did listen on Spotify, leave us 5 star. Leave us 5 stars. That'd be good. Leave us a follow as well so you're notified on the podcast episodes, the reviews, and we will be releasing the trade videos sort of stuff as an audio clip so you guys can listen to it over there. And if you watch on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. We're pretty close to 1,000 subscribers. We've basically gained, I think, nearly half the amount of subscribers we've got. Basically we've doubled the subscribers we had since last month. So it's been absolutely crazy, the support. We really do appreciate it.
We love the support too. Me too.
Me too. I agree. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll catch us all next week.
See you later, guys.